Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kudash. Double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the whole full. Uh, this will just gonna want to go into an article that I found, I believe, a day or two ago off of the expose, and it says M-hipping. I gotta be careful because of YouTube. The M-hipping agenda. Why are the Freemasons collecting the DNA of your children? And this is going to go into something that as you can see here, it says the Freemasons have long stood at the epicenter of numerous sea theories, their secretive nature adding fuel to the fire of speculation. Now the introduction of my hip, Masonic hip, but you could put the C in there, program dressed up as a benevolent child protection tool has provoked further debate. But could there be concealed objectives beyond the surface? Right? And especially with this movie, I think it's The Sound of Freedom, if I'm not mistaken, with that recently coming out, I believe maybe about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, about with the trafficking of individuals and things like that. It seems like they're, well, not seems, but it seems like they're pushing for, they're putting on the forefront, hey, this is a problem, which is something that they always do, which is work on the minds of the people, and they attack people's emotions to make them feel certain things. So they're bringing out right now with the whole, this movie like Sound of Freedom and things like that, where it goes into the trafficking of individuals, specifically young individuals and things like that, and how that happens in the world. And now you have something like this with the Masonic hip that can be a help to that. That could be looked at as what a solution. Hey, if certain individuals are going through trafficking, specifically young individuals, well, hey, there should be a technology to prevent that, or that a technology that can, prevent that from happening. All right. So I just want to get into this article here and go through some of it and I have like probably 2 or 3 precepts lined up, and Lord's willing, this is edifying. Just to get into the point as we keep going, and it seems like this is happening more and more and more with the with this certain topic that John the Revelator saw on the island of Patmos, that's becoming more and more clear what it is. Now, you'll still have certain individuals that won't believe it, or certain individuals that can't see it, but this is for those who can see, and to prove to you that the scriptures are real. A lot of times people will put things like, or say things I've heard, oh, the Bible's been tampered with, I can't believe in it. Well, do you not have faith that the Heavenly Father can still make sure that, yes, has the Bible been tampered with? Has there been things changing it? But when you read Revelation, the 22nd chapter, it talks about those that add or take out of this book, the Heavenly Father shall take them out of the book of life, or add unto the plagues written in this book unto them. So the Bible being tampered with had to have happened, or the Bible being tampered with had to happen, right? But I feel like that's a cop out, or me speaking as a matter of fact, that's a cop out answer for, hey, I know nothing about the Bible, but the one thing I know is, oh, it's been tampered with, so that's why I don't get into it too much. It's a cop out answer to me, that you just want to dismiss the things of the Bible, and we can't dismiss the things of the Bible right now, seeing as how the main thing that has to deal with you being saved or not, depending on if you take this or not, which is what John the Revelator saw on the island of Patmos when he received visions, that there's going to be a device that will come out in the future, right, in the time that we are living right now, because we can see it, that is going to you're going to have to receive or take, whether it be in the right hand or in the forehead, or pursuing to Revelation the 14th chapter. It doesn't matter where you get it. Right, but that's what John the Revelator saw on the island of Patmos, and I'm referring to Revelation, the 13th chapter, and the 16th and 17th and 18th verse. That I'll get it as well, but a certain device that people are going to have to take, whether it be in their right hand or in their forehead, and no man might buy or sell save, which another word for save means unless you had that small device put within you. You won't be able to function in society without that. And we see little things like this that promote the reason to have that device in society. And right now, again, going back with the Sound of Freedom, what did you have with the Sound of Freedom? Young individuals are being, going through traffic, and a device that can track them and things like that, a device that could, know their every whereabouts in the movements, can prevent things like that, right? So this is why they bring things like this out on the forefront of media and things like this. So this is why they'll do movies. It's not because of they're trying to bring awareness to this. No, they're trying to play on your emotions and things like that, and feel very sorry and say, hey, we need to do something about young individuals being swept away and things like that. Well, hey, there's a device that can take care of that and solve that problem, which is this. Now it says, going into this article, right? Which, matter of fact, hold on, let me get this. Actually, let me get this and then we'll get into that. Now I'm going to read Habakkuk, the second chapter, start from the first verse and read down to the third verse. And what I want to establish here is an understanding of what a watchman is and what he's supposed to do, because that's what essentially we are doing when we go out there on the highways and byways, or if we do these lessons, we are warning the people. We are standing upon our watch. So let me read the scripture and I'll break it down. So it says, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon a tower, which is what pretty much a watchman, a person that is watching over, right? When you have a watchtower, you're at the pinnacle, or you're at the top, right? And you have eyes and ears, but pretty much mostly your eyes on everything that's going on in the city, right? You can see the whole city and you can see what's going on, a little further outside the city. So you can see if anybody is coming to attack the city, or if men are coming to the city that you don't know about. You're standing on that pinnacle, on that high pinnacle, and you have eyes and ears, like I said, everywhere to see if anything funny is going to come at your city, right? Or come to the city gates. So again, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and that he is the heavenly Father, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables. Right now, in the ancient world, the prophets specifically, like let's just use Habakkuk for the example, since we're in the book, he would receive the vision, and like it says, so I could write the vision and make it plain upon tables. So when the prophets received these visions, they would write them on the scrolls, on the parchment paper, right? And they would write the vision that the Heavenly Father gave them. That's why we have today the Bible, because they go back to the scrolls or what was written on parchment. And these are the visions, right, that the Heavenly Father would give to certain prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, obviously Habakkuk, what we're reading right now, Micah, Malachi, and so forth, right? But in this time period, how are we writing the vision and make it plain upon tables? Well, the vision has already been written. We're just now making it plain unto you. Now, when you go into our word plain, I believe the Hebrew word, how you say this, is ba'ar, ba'ar or ba'ara. Now it says to make plain, distinct, to make clear, to declare, right? All right, also make plainly. So the vision has already been written. We're just having to now, since we've been given the Holy Spirit, to a spirit of understanding, now we're making it clear to the people of what is to come. Again, if we're on a high tower, on a watchtower, we could see all the things that are going to come at the city. If we see, let's just say about 300 men coming at the city gates from the north quarter or something like that, we're going to give a clear message that, hey, there's some men, like there's a bunch of men at the city gates just on horses right now, and I don't know who these men are, but they look like they might attack the city. You send off that message, and somebody will blow a trumpet or something that'll give that distinct sound, so hey, war is coming at our city gates. Prepare the men, right? You're not going to sit there and say, there's about 300 men on some horses, and look like they got swords in the hand. They got, like a stick on fire. But I don't think these men is coming to attack the city. They look like they might pass by. You're not going to give an uncertain message, because that could mess up the person. So you're going to give a clear, distinct message of what it is that you're seeing. So that way, when you give the message off to the person, they can know how to alert the people, or what trumpet or what alarm to be blown, right? Think of it the same thing with security. If you're doing security, you're not gonna radio on the radio. There's a guy here. I don't know what he's. Maybe he'll walk off, or no, you'll say, hey, there's a guy, and you'll say, he's wearing a black trench coat. He's about 6 feet tall or something like that. He's acting a little funny. I might need a little help here at the front desk and things like that because this guy's acting a little erratic, right? You give a clear, distinct message for your superiors or other security guards so that way they know how to assess and how to deal with the situation when they're coming on their way there. You're not going to give an iffy answer because then it's like, what are you trying to say? Is there a problem? Is there or not? Like, do you need backup or not backup? It's like, yeah, I'll need backup. This guy's kind of acting erratic and things like that. So, everybody come to like the front desk and things, or maybe two guards come to the front desk and, whoever the superior is or whoever is on watch will sit there and say, all right, come and copy 10-4, whatever, come into the front desk and things like that. And you just hold it down until backup comes, right? So that's essentially what we do. The vision has already been written. We are now giving a clear, distinct message on what the prophecies are, and that's what we do when we do these lessons, and that's what we do when we go out there on the highways and byways. We give that clear, distinct message of what the prophets, inspired by the Spirit of the Lord, are saying, right? So that's what we're going to do with this when we go into Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse. Because if you listen to some Israelite groups, they'll sit there and tell you that the MOTB, or what John the Revelator saw, is sin. But you have to think, can sin go in your right hand? Can sin go in your mind? Does that make it? Can you buy or sell with sin? Right? And it says, verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So although, people have said, you guys have been saying that for years, that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and this is going to come and that's going to come. But now we are here. We are at the time where it is no longer tarrying, right? It is here, right? Which it has been here for a while because this technology has been out in Sweden and things like that. But it has not come to the forefront here in America where it's, made mandatory. But they have been slowly working on the minds of the people, bringing out the technology and then working on the minds of the people to make this thing a reality. And when I say that, I'm referencing what Elder Design once says. I'm going to try to say it the best I can according to what he says. He talks about the RF. I can't say the whole word, but if he watched this video, he'll know what I mean. The RF, I believe it's the RF technology, the RF mentality, and the RF reality, which is where I believe that's in the order of which he says it. I could be wrong. But in the RF technologies is what they bring out to, the technology that they want to bring out, which is the MOTB technology. But first they have to bring it out and things like that. They have to bring out the technology, and then now slowly but surely they get you adapted or accustomed to the technology by the mentality and things like that, making it the norm in society and things like that, making it a convenience and making it easy, right? Let's just use the credit card for example, right? With the credit card and things like that, I'm pretty sure at that time people were like, no, I'd rather have cash in my hands. Like I would never want a card and things like that. What if you lose the card and things like that? But over time, right, the mentality working on the minds of the people, it became a convenience, right? Right? People weren't so worried about losing their card and things like that. They probably had some, came up with certain things in the bank, like, hey, if you lose your card, hey, call this number or whatever, or call the bank and we'll just stop your card immediately, or things like that. Or certain other things to help you not lose your bank card and things like that. And then eventually they put a CHIP of, I would say rather recently, in these credit cards. I believe it's like it would be on the right side of your card, if I'm not mistaken. That would now what is getting you mentally ready for what? The tap and go, the quick swipes and things like that, right? Because that's essentially what the MOTB is going to bring with the hand and things like that. Just a quick, which I have a video on that as well. That's just put your hand over the receiver or whatever, or, swipe your hand really quickly. And then there you go. Even with the Omni thing with the MTA and things like that, they have the tap and go, right? So again, they bring out the technology, then they work on the mentality, and then very soon it becomes a reality in society, right? So again, I'll say it one more time. They bring out the technology. Hopefully I'm saying that right according to what Elder Design one says. Salaki if I'm messing that up. But they bring out the technology, right? But they at first, it's not just bringing out the technology and leaving it there. No, you want people to get accustomed to it, right? You want people for this to become the new norm in society. So then they bring out the mentality where they bring out certain accommodations to make it easier and make it more accessible for the people. And then eventually you see how that becomes a new norm in society and now has become a reality. Like going back to the credit card where at one point, people were saying, "Oh hell no, I wouldn't want a credit card because what if I lose it?" But now it is because of through working on the mentality of people, it is now a reality where people are fine with credit cards. That is now the norm, and that is what they're going to do in society with the MOTB. They're going to bring out the technology. It's going to be worked on the minds of the people to make it accommodable or accessible to everybody, right? As it says, rich and poor, free and bond, small or great, roughly paraphrasing. We'll get that precept as well, right? For everybody, they're going to make it accessible to everybody, and then it will become the reality, the new norm in society, and people will now look at it as like, why don't you use that, right? So now let's go into this article now. It says the MyHip program refers to the Masonic Hip program. Masonic Hip stands for Masonic Child Identification Program. Says it is a community service initiative sponsored by North American Masonic lodges to allegedly aid in the identification and recovery of missing children. It says the program involves creating a package of items for parents which allegedly helps to identify their child quickly. And matter of fact, I have this here as well before I forget. Also, to show you the predictive programming, I had to find this on this episode. This episode was called Archangel from the Black Mirror series, and it says the Black Mirror episode, season 4, episode 2. If you want to watch it, this goes into how a mother, at one point, as you can see here, I don't know if it'll thing. I just want to show some not clips, but video, not videos, but what you call it, screenshots. Maybe it'll show. Okay, here we go. This is the mother, as you can see right here, that at one point lost her child and things like that. If the picture will clear up, okay, there we go. This is the mother on the left-hand side of your screen here, and obviously this is the doctor administering the technology into her brain and things like that. And this is predictive programming. They're showing you through movies, through TV shows, what they plan to do. So at one point, her daughter went missing. She lost her, but then she found her, obviously. And now they had a program to her where it's like, hey, if your daughter ever goes off running or something like that, you can now, find out where she is through this technology that we're putting within her brain. And she had like some iPad device that wherever she could see her daughter and things like that, right? As you can see right there, putting it in the forehead, right? Just like the scriptures speak about. Bong, just to give you even closer. Well, shit, looking at that, I might use that as a thumbnail for the video. But as you can see right there, the forehead, right? The metopon, if you go into it. All right, and that would be right here. Yep, the water Yabashimasha. It's not coming up, of course. I don't want to just stay on this. But as you can see right here where I have it, that would be the type of iPad device where she was able to see what her daughter was, where she would go and things like that, because obviously the technology is in her brain. And whatever her daughter experiences, like in the show, her daughter was having sex with a guy and things like that. And through this device right here, her mother was able to see that her daughter was having sex and things like that. So just wanted to bring that out just to show you how they, predictive programming show you on these TV shows. But it says this package usually includes fingerprints of the child, a dental impression or cheek swab for DNA, a video, still photo, and a general description, other pertinent information about the child. So within this device, or this, they're calling it a package, is going to have things that will help us be able to find your child and things like that. All right. It says the goal, as stated by the Freemasons, is to give parents a tool they can hand over to law enforcement quickly in case of an emergency, right? Which is the same thing like we say when you go into the word charagma, or the M-A-R-K, when you go into it in the Greek, where it's going to that, how the first word there when you go into it is charax, which, Lord's willing, is this blue letter doesn't act up and Satan doesn't act a fool now. All right, Satan, let's cut it out now. I have a video to do. Okay, screw it. It's a good thing I remember it by heart. But when you go into the word the M-A-R-K in the Greek, there's three root words there. The first word would be charagma, which is pretty much an etching or cutting, right? And then the second root word would be charax, which would be a pale or palisade, which essentially is the sharp object that you would use to perform charagma, which is to cut into the flesh, right? And then you have the third word right there, which would be grapha, which is things not to be forgotten, information and things like that, right? Things not to be forgotten, which would be what? Your records, your identification, things that you would need to function in society, right? And that's essentially what's going to be on that small device. Things not to be forgotten, which is your social security. If you have a car, your driver's license, your bank account, whatever identification, or your bank account routing number, and what would it be, the account number and routing number, if I'm not mistaken. Things not to be forgotten, so that way you can function in society, right? Because if you lose these things, it's like, who the hell are you? Even your the main thing, which would be your social security number, right? That's the main thing as well, that if you don't have that, or if you don't know that, who the hell are you in the society? So those are the things that's going to be on that device that are not to be forgotten, so you can function in society. Saying you're gonna stop acting a fool, or okay, you still acting a fool. Okay, so those are the things that's gonna be on that device that are not to be forgotten, and that's what we're seeing right here when we go into this article. As you can see, fingerprints of the child, a dental impression or cheek swab for DNA, a video, still photo, or general description or other pertinent information about the child. So these are the things that are needed so that way we don't forget the child, so that way we can find the child, right? As I read that, so it says the C-hipping agenda, the intricacies. It says the subtle semblance between the names my hip and, well, as you can see the word there under quotation, can't be dismissed as mere coincidence, which it's not. Some theorists argue that this program is a soft introduction to a society where C-hipping becomes the norm, and that's essentially like I was giving the example with the credit card. They want the norm to be what? Eventually people getting used to what? Not having cash, because we're moving to a cashless society. And of course, the initial reaction of the people would be what? Hey, whoa, I don't know about a credit card, because you mean to tell me I'm putting all this information on this card. What if I lose the card and things like that? Like, what the hell? Then it's like everything I have is gone. So they had to make things, society easier. Excuse me. Had to make things in society easier, so that way you wouldn't you'd be more used, right, working on the mentality of the people, more used to not having cash and things like that. So again, it says to a society where C-hipping becomes the norm, they point to the progression of technological surveillance, from simple ID cards to biometric passports, and now to potential C-hipping as evidence of this trajectory. Says consequences. If society becomes accustomed to the idea of C-hipping for safety, it's a small leap to expand. It's a small leap to expand this to other areas of life. A world where every citizen is hipped or C-hipped could mean total surveillance beyond mere location tracking. C-hips could monitor health, finance, transactions, which is what this is all things not to be forgotten, right? Also with the monitor health, why you think like with Apple and things like that, through technology, they're getting you used to what technology monitoring your heartbeat and things like that. I think it's the Apple Health or something. It's the Apple Watch or iWatch, I think it's called. And sometimes if you're exercising, things like that, it can monitor. I think there's recently a commercial with that, but I think it's the iWatch, I think, right? And it will monitor your heartbeat and things like that. Even Yuval Noah Harari has talked about getting robots or something like that, or artificial intelligence, AI would be a better suitor than an actual physical person to monitor your health and things like that, right? And it will be specifically designed to you. So, as it says there, beyond mere location tracking, CHIPs could monitor health, financial transactions, which that goes into the whole climate change and things like that, which brothers have done lessons on, where they're trying to reduce how much people eat and that, or how much people consume, and that goes into, if you've ever heard of the Malthusian theory or the limits to growth, which I believe that comes from the Club of Rome, if I'm not mistaken, which is how they, with the whole, because there's going to be too much people on the earth is not going to be able to produce enough food for everybody on earth, so we have to limit how much people eat, going into the limits to growth or the Malthusian theory, right? And it says, so that goes into what, financial transaction, watching how much you spend and things like that, having control over your money. It says, and personal interactions, creating a profile of each individual's life in real time, right? So pretty much essentially having total surveillance, or really total control over every aspect of your life. And that's what that device is going to have. Again, if we go into it real quick, Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 says, and he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma, or a mark, in their right hand or in their foreheads. Verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save, and another word for save is unless he had the mark, or the charagma. So unless you have this, you will not be able to buy anything, and nothing will be able to be sold to you unless you have this, because this is going to be the new way of functioning in society. And that is what gives them control, because obviously they brought it out. And so now they can now limit what you can do, and they can limit what you can and cannot do, and say what you can and cannot do as well. And if you don't go according to that, well, hey, they can shut you down. It says also controlled behavior. With surveillance comes control. With penalties for behaviors not sanctioned by those in power, freedom could become an antiquated concept, right? And that's something that they have going on over there in China, if I'm not mistaken, the social credit system, that if you speak out against the government, and there was another episode, I believe, shown in Black Mirror as well, with the chick, how she wants to get a new apartment or a new home and things like that, but she had to have, like, let's just say her star level up to, like, let's say level 5 or something like that. But it was in the way of, in society, to where you had to conform to society, and you had to make people like you and things like that, and you would post upon social media and things like that. And if people liked you, or people saw you that you were functioning in society and things like that, or if you were quote unquote a good person, they would star your social account or whatever like that. And the more stars you get and things like that, you would level up to the next level. That would make you available to get certain things in life, or or for her example, that house that she wanted, or a new apartment. And that's what she was aiming for in that episode. Let's just say 5 stars to get that specific apartment that she wanted. And she was basically kissing ass to, like, I think it was an old high school friend and things like that. And that high school friend became very popular in life, and I think they were marrying somebody very important. And she was trying to rush and race to the marriage and things like that. It didn't work out. Eventually, her star level went from where it was at. I think it was like at 4, because she was building it up for some time, and then eventually it went down to nothing, where she was locked up in jail. And I think at some point, just if you watch the movie, I'm sorry, not the movie, the episode, she was at the airport and things like that, and she was acting pretty erratic and things like that, because she was trying to rush to get to the marriage and things like that, and things were not working well for her. Things weren't going her way, and she was acting pretty, again, aggressive and things like that at the airport, to the point where I believe she skipped the line or whatever, and somebody was saying, hey, you can't skip the line, hey, what's up, or things like that. And she started cussing and yelling at people, and eventually that lowered her star level to where she couldn't get on the plane, because obviously, as she's acting erratic and out of control, the people right there would just take out their phones and be like, and put it on her and be like, oh, we're gonna lower your star level because you're acting like, a part of my language, a bitch and things like that. And then she couldn't get on the plane. That prevented her from getting on the plane and things like that. So that's what that would do. That would give you obviously control. So continuing, it says data vulnerability. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but because I have like 2 videos I want to show at the end as well. It says every technology can be hacked. Imagine the chaos if personal data from CHIPs fell into the wrong hands, right? It says genetic data collection for the elite. It says the intricacies. It says the MyHip program collects DNA samples. Why would a simple identification program require genetic material unless there was another agenda? Speculators post that this DNA collection is less about intermediate identification and more about long-term genetic data accumulation. This would be an invaluable tool for those wishing to maintain control and exert power. Which I'm going to skip this one. I'll go to this one right here. It says, and also I'll put this in the description box also, I remember. It says power play within law enforcement. It says the intricacies. Through the MyHip program, the Freemasons could be infiltrating the very fabric of our protective agencies by positioning themselves as allies in child protection. They potentially weave their influence deep within law enforcement structures, allowing them to manipulate from the inside. Consequences: with leverage over law enforcement, selective persecution, which cases might be pursued or dismissed based on the whims and interests of the order rather than justice. Basically, they can create their own narrative, Salakia, to what they want and things like that. It won't be based off justice. They will be doing what they feel they want to do. Even there it says controlled narrative. The information that reaches the public could be controlled and manipulated, creating a society based on crafted truths. So here it is. Let's say what they're doing. You get the small device in your hand, and you don't like what they're doing in society. Then now with this technology, they can now shut you off from society, cut you off. And I believe that goes into Revelation 13, chapter 15 verse, where it says, those that don't worship will be killed. When you go into the word killed, it's twofold. It also means to be obviously physically killed, but also to be cut off from society. So if you go against what society is saying and things like that, well, they could create a narrative. Why is this word like, I'm struggling to say this word, a narrative where you're the bad guy, you're a domestic terrorist or something like that, and you have to be locked up. You're an issue to society. Again, going into the thing over there in China, I believe it's the social credit system, to where it's like, hey, if you speak out against the government, things like that, your face will be posted in places and things like that, to where it's now there's this narrative that, hey, you're a bad person, or, be careful, this person has extremist ideas and things like that. Using extremes to make you conform to society, right? It says infiltration of other institutions. Success within law enforcement could be a blueprint for infiltrating other institutions, military, judiciary, or even educational. Okay, so that would be it for this article, but it says, I'll just read a little bit here. It says, conclusion: in the vast labyrinth of societal institutions, the Freemasons stand as one of the most enigmatic. Their influence threading through centuries of history. The MyHip initiative on the surface seems like a benevolent endeavor to protect your most precious asset, your children. However, when considering the deep-rooted secrecy and the intricate web of connections that characterize the Freemasons, one must pause and ponder, right? So you have to think about it. Again, going to the example I gave, or what I said much earlier in the video, about how with this coming out of that movie Sound of Freedom, or this narrative of, hey, young children, young boys and young girls are being swept away and things like that. Just being very cautious with my words, using wisdom. Being swept away and things like that. We need to bring awareness to this thing, and hey, we're working on technology to make sure that doesn't happen. Hey, well, there's this Masonic CHIP thing that we've been having planned out for a while now, or we've thrown this idea out there, but this isn't an idea that just came up out of nowhere. This has been in the works for years now. They have been planning to bring out a small device to where they can control every aspect of your life. And again, they've been showing it in movies and TV shows throughout the years, throughout the 1990s, throughout the early 2000s, throughout the 2010s, and now obviously in the 2020s, and until the Lord Yahushua comes back. it's becoming more and more throughout movies and throughout TV shows, more prevalent of what they're basically telling you is that, look, this is the plans that we have for you, and this is what we want to do. And maybe in the 1990s and maybe like the early 2000s, it wasn't, and even in what you call it, one song comes to mind with Eminem. I think I remember him mentioning the New World Order and things like that. I can't remember the song, but I remember that just came to mind. So even in music and things like that. Um, Again, music, uh, TV shows and movies, they have been showing you what they want to do and things like that. And again, maybe in the early 1980s, 1990s, the early 2000s, it wasn't as crazy. Maybe they didn't put it in every movie and things like that. But as we got to like the 2010s and obviously in the 2020s now, and now we're in the year 2023, excuse me, you see how it's much more prevalent and they've been putting it a lot more in movies and things like that. I can't be wrong. I'm not a person that really watches TV and things like that. More of a movie person, but I'm not a person, like I said, that watches a lot of TV. But like I was saying, I don't, from what I remember at least, them really putting it that much in like those years and things like that. It's became like, let's just say around the early 2000s to now, they've been putting it more and more in TV and movie shows, right? So again, they're showing you again predictive programming, what they plan to do and what their ideas are. But then when you come out and question it or say anything about it, oh no, 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 why, we're not doing that. Like that's C theory. That's crazy talk and things like that. But yet they put it in movies and it's very plain for it to be seen. So I'm gonna play these two videos here on from World Star Hip Hop. One of these, I believe it's this one, the first one, our brother put in the chat. So I'm gonna play this for you to see it. If it allows it to play. Oh, come on. Salakia, give me 1 second. Let me see if this will. If this doesn't go through, then I apologize. This is just Satan right now. Okay. I see we're doing this, huh? Okay. All right, Satan. Give me 1 second. If it doesn't work out here, then I apologize for that. Maybe later on I could put in like the description box. I'll put in those two videos at the end if it's possible for me to do that. If I could steal it off of WorldStar and I'll put it in the description box. But it just shows, just to describe what you're seeing in the video. If you looked at the picture, yeah, that's saying. The woman, she was wearing a green shirt and like some booty shorts or whatever. Like she has some booty, but whatever. She was wearing that and she was showing how she was going to pay with her hand. I believe she used her right hand. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the left hand. But anyway, she used her hand anyways to pay and things like that. And again, going into what? They bring out the technology, right? They make it, bring it out. They say this is what this technology can do and things like that. And you may be a little skeptical of it at first, right? You may be a little bit, I don't know too much, but they still put it out there and things like that. Again, this is now getting into the steps of the mentality. Now we're getting your mind used to things like this, right? And now if you watch it, Lord's willing, again, like I said, hopefully I could put it in the description box. She was like, oh my God, this is so cool and this is so nice. And, obviously women, they're very easy to deceive and things like that. Yes, you women are very easy to be deceived, and I said it. That yes, when she put her hand there and things like that, she was like, oh my God, this is so cool, it's nice, but not knowing that this is going to lead to pretty much enslavement for you, and there's pretty much going to lead to destruction. Because although that woman looks like an Edomite, she could be an Israelite. You never know. But going into the point is that what? They're bringing out the technology, then they're working on the mentality, and then very soon that technology that they brought becomes a reality in society. So, and then the second video underneath it was how I believe this chick was trying to get into this pharmacy or something like that, and she couldn't get in unless she looked up at the scanner and it identified her face, and it had like a symbol on it. It had red on the left hand side, which is locked, and green on the right hand side. So like left was red, which is locked, and right was green, which is unlocked, and she had to look up for it to face scan her so it could let her in. showing you the technology that they're bringing. I'm just trying one last time with this thing. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me do this, matter of fact. Let me try. Let me try one last time. And if it doesn't work, then Salaki on that. I mean, I can't do nothing about Satan, but just did not expect that to happen. Sometimes visualization helps to, at least for me, helps to describe what you're saying as well. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, Satan's being a bitch. All right, but Lord's willing, this video is edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.